What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Vanessa Lau from vanessalau.co, and in today's video we are going to talk about the things that you need to consider before you quit your job. Now, the reason that this video is even possible is because in last week's video where I talk about why I left my corporate job, I had asked you guys to give me a thumbs up if this is the type of content that you want to see, and I got so many likes and so many thumbs up, so many messages. I was so thrilled that you guys really connected with my story, and so that is why today's topic is the topic that it is. And in this video I am going to talk about things like finances, because I personally think that's a huge portion of what you would consider if you were to leave your job or not. But I do want to leave a disclaimer that I am by no means a financial expert, so if you actually need professional guidance on finances, then definitely seek that professional guidance. What I'm talking about is based off of my personal experience, so I definitely want to put that out there as a disclaimer. On top of that, the same thing that I mentioned in my last video is that everyone's journey is unique. Please don't follow my journey and follow it step by step and thinking that this is the model that you need to follow. That is not true. Everyone has their own reasons as to why they leave a job. I am not encouraging anyone to leave their job before they are ready. So just wanted to also throw that out there, that all I'm doing is sharing the information that I have in order to help someone that is seeking this information. So with that being said, serious stuff aside, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe if you want to see my content every week. So one of the major things that I kind of overlooked before I quit my job is the financial consequences that are directly tied to the company if you quit. So for example, if you have a group RRSP where your employer actually matches the amount of money that you contribute to this fund, you need to be careful and to be sure that you understand what the vesting period is for your company. Now, before I explain what vesting period means, I should probably explain to you, just in case, what I mean by group RRSP. If you are a part of an employer matching program that's directed towards your retirement savings, what that means is, for example, let's say every paycheck, a portion of it goes directly deposited into your RRSP. And let's say for every dollar that you put in, your company will put in 50 cents, so 50%. So let's say in your RRSP with the company, you have a total now of $10,000 after a couple years of service, depending on how much you contributed. Of that $10,000, 50% of it is your contribution and the other 50% of it is your company's. But what you really need to understand is that every company has a vesting period. And I actually didn't know about this until after I quit and talked to my financial advisor. So what a vesting period is, that is the period of time that you need to stay in the company before you are entitled to those funds. Whether that's in an RRSP where your employer matches part of your contribution, or it could also be stock options. If you quit, let's say before 3 years, which is the vesting period of your company, let's say, then the company is not entitled to give you that money because that still belongs to the company since you quit before that vesting period. So that is something that is key to keep in mind of, and to make sure that you get that information before you leave. Another type of information that's important for you to acquire before you hand in your letter of resignation is to 100% make sure that there are no penalties involved to you leaving your job. For example, for some companies, if they relocated you, let's say from Vancouver to Toronto, and they paid for all of your expenses to move you, if you leave before a certain amount of time, the company can actually bill you for all the expenses that were incurred in order to move you to that city. And that's just a quick example. This can also apply to the special trainings that you received, or if, let's say, the company put you through schooling or paid for an exam that you took. Those are things that the company can actually bill you for if you leave before a certain time. What you have to make sure, though, is that in the contract that you signed, there was no fine print stating that. And if there was a fine print stating that you ensure you have a plan for yourself and that you keep that time frame in mind. This actually also applies to signing bonuses as well. So just make sure you are super careful before you leave to do your due diligence and make sure that there are no fine prints stating that, and if there are, actually having a plan and working around it. Another thing that's tied directly to the company financially if you leave is your company benefits, especially your health benefits. So an amazing thing about working for a corporate company or for a company that pays for your health insurance is that you can save so much money on these types of expenses. A type of prescription that costs $10,000 can easily cost $40 because you work for this company and because you're insured. So my advice to you is to see if it's really worth it to let go of all of those benefits that you have. And if you do think that it's worth it, then I would highly suggest to go see a dentist Go see the optometrist. Stock up on your prescription before you pull the plug. The second thing that you want to consider is your personal finances. So this is different than the finances that are directly tied to the company. This is your personal plan. How much money do you actually have saved up before you take the leap of faith? When you leave a job without another one lined up, or you have a business that's not generating you income yet, it can be extremely stressful to always look at your bank account and seeing that number go down and knowing that nothing is coming in. Especially if you're starting your own business, when you are so stressed out about your bank account, you start finding yourself in a position where you cheap out on a lot of essential services and tools that could potentially grow your business exponentially. So if you're considering starting your own business, I highly recommend that you actually talk to other entrepreneurs and understand all of their expenses.
For example, there are courses that you might need to buy, optimization tools that you need to subscribe for, email marketing platforms that you need to buy, an accountant that you need to hire, lawyers to make sure that what you're doing is within the law, coaches that you might need to hire to mentor you and guide you.
There are a ton of expenses that you might not realize that are associated to having a business. And if you're not starting your own business and you're simply quitting your job to explore your other options, you also want to consider that other companies have interview lead times that are upwards to months on end. So you also want to prepare yourself for these lead times. And if you already know that the companies that you're eyeing might have a very long interview process, you might want to start applying to these companies while you're still employed and while you're still earning a pay. You also have to consider that there are actually a lot of expenses that you take for granted when you have money coming in. Cost of living and the cost of having fun. You know, it really sucks to know that you've left your job, but now you have to isolate yourself socially because you're cheaping out and you don't want to spend money on a nice dinner with your friends. You don't really want to spend money on that movie ticket. And there are certain activities that you can do for free. The sad truth is that you do need some money in order to sustain the relationships and the friendships that you have and the places that you guys all go to. It really sucks to be that person that can't go on that trip or can't go out to dinner or goes to dinner and makes everyone feel awkward because all you're drinking is water. These are certain things that you do want to consider before you quit your job. I felt so uncomfortable knowing that my bank account was just shrinking because all of the expenses that I had to fork out for my business. And even though I had a good amount of money saved, for me personally, it just didn't feel right knowing that there was no income coming in, especially for someone like me who's always had a job, always had money coming in. It just felt freaking weird. And not only did it feel weird, I also found myself, again, like I said earlier, cheaping out on essential things that I need in order to build my business. And so what I had to do is I had to drop my big fat ego and take a job across the street where now I proudly can announce that I work at a coffee shop as a barista. And being a part-time coffee barista is something that I never thought I would be doing, but I'm not embarrassed or ashamed by it because I know my why. And this is something that I want you to consider as well, because when you leave your job without a concrete plan afterwards, there is going to be a lot of social pressure. Once you quit your job and people start finding out about it, you're going to get questions left, right, front, and center of people asking you what you're up to. And all of these questions mean incredibly well, but when you personally don't have your shit together 100%, it can totally create a lot of self-doubt. And when you have this type of self-doubt, it can easily cloud your vision and cloud your purpose and cloud your goals. And this type of cloudiness starts making you feel like you need to get a job right away, even if that job is actually not aligned with your purpose, your vision, or your why. For example, I hit a period where I was filled with self-doubt. When you don't have a job lined up or you don't have something traditional, people really start questioning that, and people really start to unintentionally make you feel like you made the wrong decision. So when I found myself at that point, I actually started to look for another corporate job, and I was scrolling through all of the job descriptions, all of the corporate companies that I could work for, and I was just like, why the fuck am I doing this? And that's when I reminded myself of my why I left my old corporate job in the first place, and knowing deep down inside that if I take another one just to satisfy other people, that I would end up with the same problem, and I would probably end up quitting that job too. Because deep down, I knew that even though a corporate job with a fancy title and a good salary was nice, I knew deep inside that if I took a job that was full-time 9 to 5, that was project-based, that had deadlines, knowing my character, I would take that shit home and I would never really fully focus on building my dream business. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up applying to the coffee shop that's right across my house, and 3 days a week, I am the best barista that I could possibly be. So even if I'm wrapping pastries, or I'm serving someone an Americano, or I'm learning latte art, I have a purpose of why I'm there and I'm happy to do the job. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because I want to show you that quitting your job to start your own business is not sunshine and rainbows like what you think it is. There are a lot of hard sacrifices that you need to make in order to make your dream happen. And if that means being a barista or being a bartender or taking a retail job to free up time to really focus on what you love doing while also getting some side income, then that's what you need to do. And if you're not prepared to make those type of sacrifices, then maybe you're not ready. So unless you are ready for that type of roller coaster ride and the sacrifices that you potentially need to make, especially if you're leaving your job without another lined up or without having a thriving business that you were already side hustling while you were employed, then you should definitely reconsider if quitting your job right now at this moment is right for you, and if you should maybe hold off and have a stronger plan in place for when these times hit, and if you're even ready for them, and if it's worth it for you. So to recap what we talked about, first thing is to consider the financial implications tied directly to the company and you leaving it. The second thing is to consider your own financial plan, because we both know now that if you are stressed out about your finances, you're gonna make decisions that you wouldn't make normally. The third thing is to be prepared for the social pressures that come from not having a backup plan in place. And lastly, to prepare yourself in general for feeling a bunch of types of emotions if you leave without a concrete backup plan. But most importantly is to always ground yourself with your why. So again, everyone's journey and everyone's why is completely different. You want to really dig deep down inside and ask yourself if you're leaving your job for the right reasons. If you are leaving for the right reasons, you probably won't have a problem with finding your purpose and finding your why and grounding yourself. But if you're leaving for all the wrong reasons, you're going to find that leaving your job and what happens afterwards, especially if you don't really have a concrete money-making plan in place, it's going to be very emotionally difficult for you. So that's all for me today. I really hope that this video helped you in some way. I hope that it either taught you something new, opened your eyes to something, or changed your perspective. And if you like my content, I do personal development videos every week, and now clearly I'm also starting to do some career-like videos too. Then make sure that you're subscribed so I know to keep going. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a great day, and as always, good luck on your personal journey.